We all know that saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
But have you ever really stopped to think about why that is? What's the magic of visuals, especially when it comes to making us feel something?
Our brains are just wired to process images so much faster than text.
It's like a shortcut to our emotions.
Exactly.
And thinking way back to our early ancestors, recognizing danger or just reading a facial expression, it makes sense.
Those visual cues were vital for survival, way before written language.
So it's like this ancient instinct we're still carrying around today. But then how does that play out in the modern world? Like I was looking at a website the other day, and the colors were so intense, it almost made me anxious just browsing.
That's a perfect example. Color, it's amazing. It goes way beyond just being pretty. There's a whole psychology to it. Like, think about red and orange.
Bold colors.
Yeah. Energizing, attention-grabbing. They use them in advertising a lot, right?
Makes you think of warning signs too, though.
Exactly. Urgency, danger. Tacking into our primal responses.
You don't see too many danger signs in, like, pastel pink.
Right. And then on the flip side, you walk into a hospital or a spa.
Everything's blue and green.
Exactly. Calmness, serenity. We associate those colors with nature, with healing. And it's not just random. There are evolutionary reasons, cultural reasons, why we linked certain colors with emotions.
It's like our brain has this built-in dictionary of color associations.
Huh.
And what's interesting, it's not just single colors, is it? Is how they're used together.
Absolutely. The way colors interact, it can really impact how we see things. Like high contrast, a dark figure against a bright background that creates tension, maybe even unease.
We're drawn to contrast, but it can be unsettling too.
Our subconscious is picking up on those cues, sending us signals.
Like how some people are uneasy around certain color combos, even if they can't say why.
Exactly. And this principle goes for how things are arranged too. The composition, symmetry, for instance. Our brains love it.
It makes sense. It represents order, right?
Balance, order. We're pattern-seeking creatures, and symmetry is fundamental.
But then a photo that's slightly tilted, it bugs you.
Asymmetry. It disrupts that balance, can feel tense. And then perspective, that's a big one. Think about dramatic movie scenes. Low camera angle on a character.
Makes them look powerful.
Dominant, you feel the power shift just from how the shot is framed.
And a high angle makes someone look small.
Vulnerable, insignificant. Filmmakers, photographers, they play with perspective to shape how we see things.
Speaking this secret visual language.
Pulling us into the story. And it's not just movies, right? Think about advertising, photography, how we present ourselves online even. Visuals are always working on us, whether we realize it or not.
Makes you wonder how much of our daily experience is shaped by this language we're not even aware of. Speaking of shaping moods, lighting has to be huge, right? Like golden hour photos, so captivating.
Absolutely. Lighting evokes feeling. Warm, soft light, like golden hour, you get that feeling of warmth, joy, romantic even. It mimics sunlight, which is naturally uplifting.
Then you have those dark, shadowy scenes like film noir, mystery, suspense.
Stark contrast. That light and shadow, or even the absence of light in certain areas, it taps into our primal fear of the unknown. Darkness, always associated with danger, with what we can't see.
So lighting changes how we feel about an image. What other elements are there?
Well, the subject matter, what we're actually looking at, and nothing beats the human face, right? You can read so much from an expression, even a quick one.
We're wired to connect with faces, to understand them. Like even emojis, those are just simple faces, but they convey a lot.
It's amazing. We've distilled emotions down to these simple visuals, emojis. It's like a universal language of feeling. And not just faces, objects have symbolic meaning too. We all get it.
Wilting flower, sadness, outstretched hand, hope.
Exactly. But here's where things get even more interesting. Context matters so much.
So the same image could mean different things depending on where you see it.
Think of an empty chair. Loneliness, abandonment, maybe. But also opportunity, a new beginning, a place waiting to be filled.
Wow. It's about the image, our own experience, how we interpret things. It's like solving a visual puzzle.
And speaking of different ways of seeing, the style of an image impacts its emotional weight. How it's created, the techniques, all of that contributes.
So a minimalist design, maybe it feels peaceful, whereas something more complex, detailed might be energetic, even chaotic.
Exactly. The style becomes part of the language, speaking to our emotions differently.
Like art movements. Impressionism, all dreamy brushstrokes, evokes lightness. Cubism feels more fragmented, analytical.
Each style has its own vocabulary. And not just art. Think about design, architecture, fashion, websites. Style is everywhere, influencing how we feel.
Like we're surrounded by this invisible world of visual cues shaping our experience. The more we understand them, the more empowered we are, right? As viewers, as communicators.
Understanding visuals lets us be more conscious creators, A&D consumers of this amazing form of communication. It's like learning a new language, right? Once you start to see how it works, you can't unsee it.
It's true. I'm finding myself looking at images totally differently now. Like, I never really thought much about color palettes before, but now I notice, oh, this combo makes me feel relaxed, or this one's kind of energizing. Some even make me a little edgy.
That's great. That's what I mean about paying attention to those subtle reactions. It's like you get a gut feeling, then you got to ask, okay, WH, why am I feeling this?
So like if a website makes me uneasy, maybe it's the colors clashing or the way it's laid out, too cluttered.
Could be. Or a photo with super dramatic lighting that can give you that sense of foreboding. The more you notice these things, the more you can decode the message, right? Figure out why certain images hit you a certain way.
It's like having a secret decoder ring for the visual world. And this is bigger than just art or design, isn't it? It's how we communicate every day, too.
Oh, absolutely. Think about emojis, for example. We use them constantly.
Yeah, everywhere.
And they are emotions, boiled down to these little pictures.
It's wild how much they can say with just a few lines.
Yep.
Smiley face, a heart, thumbs up, so much meaning packed in there.
And it's not just each one by itself, it's the combinations.
Yeah.
The order you use them in, how often, even which CH-specific ones you pick. It all changes the tone.
It's like a whole new level of communication, and it's totally visual. Makes you wonder what's next, for visual communication, I mean.
Oh, it's such an interesting time for this. Technology is evolving so fast. We've got augmented reality, virtual reality, changing how we experience images completely.
And AI getting more and more sophisticated. Who knows what kind of visuals we'll be creating in the future?
It's pretty mind-blowing to think about. But no matter how tech changes things, the basic principles of visual communication, I think those are going to stick around.
You mean like color, composition, lighting, all that?
Those core elements, they're how our brains make sense of images. It goes deep.
So even as tech gets fancier, we're still reacting to these cues on a subconscious level.
Exactly. Which is why it's so important to be aware of it. The power of these visuals, whether we're making them or are being influenced by them.
Because they are influencing us all the time, whether we know it or not.
Right. So the more we understand that language, the better we can use it. We become more conscious creators, more conscious consumers of this powerful form of communication.
Like becoming fluent in a whole new language. And
Yeah.
once you know it, you see it everywhere.
That's the exciting part. Exploring visuals like this, it opens you up to new perspectives. You start to see all these subtle ways images shape what we think, how we feel, even how we act.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm literally seeing the world in a new light.
That's great to hear. And it makes me think about how we use visuals to present ourselves to the world, especially online these days.
Personal branding, you mean?
The images we choose, they say a lot about us.
Our profile picture, the colors on our website, even what we share on social media, it's all part of the impression we create.
You're creating a visual identity. It should reflect your personality, your values, your message.
So it's not just picking a pretty picture. It's about being strategic.
Exactly. You need to understand this visual language, color psychology, composition, lighting, all those things we talked about.
Makes me think about how companies do it. Like fast food, all those bright colors, they want to trigger those cravings. Or tech companies, they go sleek and minimalist, project that image of sophistication.
They're using those associations we all have. But the same ideas apply to personal branding too.
So if I want to look warm and approachable, maybe softer lighting, warmer colors for my profile pic.
Could be. And if you want to be bold, edgy, maybe high contrast images, strong lines, it's about matching the visuals to the effect you want.
This has been fascinating. Seriously, I feel like I'm seeing things with new eyes. I'm going to pay a lot more attention to the choices I make, both in presenting myself and how I interpret what I see every day.
I'm so glad to hear that, and I hope everyone listening will do the same. Take a look at the images you see all around you. Really look. Colors, composition, lighting, style. Pay attention to how it makes you feel, what message it's sending. You might be surprised by what you discover.
It's like unlocking a whole new level of understanding.
It is, and that's what makes the study of visual communication so exciting. It's a journey that can really enrich your life.
It really is a language, isn't it? And once you start to notice it, you can't unnotice it.
That's the thing. And the more fluent we get in that language, the better we can connect with people,
Yeah.
Understand the little things that shape how we see the world.
I was just thinking about presentations. Like, if you want your audience to be really engaged, excited,
Mm-hmm.
maybe using bright colors, some cool images, even videos.
Totally. You're using visuals to make that
It's
connection.
not just about excitement, though. You could use them to make people feel calm,
Mm.
trusting, even nostalgic. It all depends on what you're going for.
Exactly. It's like you've got this visual toolbox, you pick the right tools for the job.
You have to know which tool does what, though.
That's where understanding those elements comes in, knowing how it all works together.
This whole conversation's been so eye-opening. It's like I was seeing the world through a blurry lens before, and now it's all coming into focus.
That's what's so great about exploring these topics. It gives you a whole new perspective. You start to see how much influence visuals really have on us.
I definitely appreciate the power of images now, that's for sure. I'm going to be thinking a lot more about the choices I make, both in how I present myself, AD, how I interpret the images I see all the time.
I love to hear that. And for everyone listening, I'd say the same thing. Take a look at the images around you. Really take them in. Colors, the way they're arranged, the lighting, the style. Ask yourself, how does it make you feel? What's the message here? You might surprise yourself with what you pick up on.
It's like this whole new world opens up.
It does, and that's the beauty of visual communication. It's a journey, and it's one that can make your life richer in all sorts of ways.
So whether you're an artist, a designer, or just someone who wants to understand the world a little better, remember, pay attention to the images around you. They're speaking to you, even if you don't realize it. Until next time, keep looking and keep learning.